She found out her billionaire husband was sleeping with her best friend. 10 minutes before the baby shower, they planned together. The elevator stopped on the 23rd floor. Nira Ellington, 7 months pregnant in a white silk dress, stepped out. The door ahead was slightly open. A trace of familiar perfume drifted into the hallway. White jasmine, the scent she had once given Leora for her birthday. Nira paused. Her hand rested on her belly. From inside came a low laugh. Corbin's. She pushed the door gently. The lights inside were dim. A man's jacket hung over a chair. Beside it lay a pearl bracelet she had seen 100 times. 2 glasses of wine sat half-finished. A blanket had slipped to the floor. She didn't move closer. She didn't speak. The truth filled the room without a word. When the door closed behind her, her world stayed inside that apartment. In the elevator mirror, she saw herself again. Steady eyes, trembling lips, holding back the storm. She fixed her lip gloss and whispered, "This party will be my goodbye." Because sometimes strength isn't loud, it's leaving quietly. Stay with this story until the end, and if it speaks to you, follow for more. Morning light brushed across the penthouse in downtown Austin. The skyline glittered outside, glass and gold stretching forever. Inside, silence rested heavy on the marble floors. Nira Ellington stood by the window, her reflection framed against the city she helped build. She looked calm, almost too calm. Her life was the kind of perfection people posted about. Designer cribs, charity galas, a husband who graced magazine covers beside her, but the quiet this morning felt strange. It pressed against her ribs, whispering that something had already cracked. She ran her fingers across the rim of a teacup Corbin had given her last Christmas, still chipped on one edge. He'd said it was vintage. Now she realized it was just broken. A breeze slipped through the half-open balcony door, moving the curtains like ghosts. Somewhere down below, the city pulsed with normal life, car horns, laughter, the rhythm of people who still believed in good mornings. Nira took one last sip of cold tea and set the cup down. Money could buy silence. It could buy beauty, but not peace. And this morning, peace had become the one luxury her wealth couldn't touch. Magazines called her the woman who had it all. Her face smiled from the cover of Southern Grace, the headline reading, "Nira Ellington, Power, Poise, and Purpose." They wrote about her elegance, her philanthropy, her perfect marriage to Corbin Thane, the billionaire CEO of Thane Industries. The photos glowed. A woman in pearls, sunlight on her skin, laughter in her eyes. But photographs don't record silence. They don't catch the moments she turned away in bed or the way her laughter faded after the flash. In private, Nira kept lists, grocery reminders, business notes, people she could no longer trust. She'd stopped writing Leora months ago. The name had started to sting. Sometimes she'd scroll through old interviews. Her own voice sounded foreign. "Marriage is partnership," she once said. "It's choosing each other every day." Now, she couldn't remember the last time Corbin had chosen her. On the dining table sat a new stack of invitations, luncheons, charity boards, another gala she'd have to host. People expected her to sparkle. She smoothed her robe, touched the diamond ring still on her hand, and whispered, "They see the shine, never the cracks." Outside, cameras flashed for a woman who no longer existed. Leora Vance had been her sister in everything but blood. Their friendship began back in grad school. 2 women with ambition and the same cheap brand of lipstick. They'd shared apartments, laughter, late-night noodles, even heartbreaks. When Corbin appeared, Leora was there too, helping Nira pick dresses, calming her nerves before the engagement. She'd stood beside her at the altar, holding the bouquet, promising, "We'll grow old, still laughing together." Now that promise echoed like an old voicemail no one returned. Leora knew every shade of Nira's joy, every secret ache, every hope. That's what made the betrayal burn deeper. It came wrapped in familiarity. There had been signs, small ones, missed calls, lingering glances, Leora's new perfume, too expensive for her salary. Nira had brushed them away, calling herself paranoid. But paranoia, she realized, was just the mind protecting what the heart refused to see. She sat in the quiet of her living room, photos of baby gifts lined up behind her. One of them, a silver frame, held a picture of Leora smiling with Corbin at last year's gala. Her fingers trembled as she turned it face down. "Sisters," she whispered, "until you proved how sharp that word can be." Corbin Thane, billionaire, visionary. Every business magazine called him the man who turned silence into empire. He spoke little, but his voice carried weight. In boardrooms, people waited for his nod. At home, Nira once did the same. He wasn't born rich. He'd built everything: money, power, charm, layer by layer until he became untouchable. And for years, she admired that. He used to look at her like she was peace. His laughter was rare, but it always came easier around her, until it didn't. Success changed him first in small ways: longer hours, colder touches, fewer words. Then came distance disguised as ambition. He'd say, "You don't understand the pressure." And she'd answer, "I do. I live inside it." But Corbin didn't want a partner anymore. He wanted a mirror, something that reflected his greatness without showing the cracks. Now, standing in the soft morning light, Nira realized she'd been that mirror for too long. Somewhere between his empire and his ego, he had misplaced his heart. And somewhere between love and loyalty, she had misplaced herself. The morning moved in soft rhythms, music from the Sonos, the scent of fresh lilies, the hum of preparation. Nira walked through the penthouse, hand brushing the edges of pastel ribbons. Everything looked perfect, yet something inside her pulsed with unease. Her twins shifted in her belly as if echoing it. A gentle flutter, then another. She smiled at first, then frowned. The air felt heavier than it should. Her phone buzzed. A message from Tahlia. The caterers were running late, traffic on Riverside. Nira replied with a simple thumbs up. She placed the phone down, but her fingers lingered over the screen. She turned toward the window. The light had changed. A cloud moved across the sun, dimming the room in an instant. Her reflection looked back at her, composed but alert. It was a feeling she'd never learned to ignore, that quiet whisper women inherit from survival itself. The one that says, "Something isn't right." Her heart always knew before her mind did. She smoothed her dress, forced a smile, and told herself she was only tired. But deep down, she already knew this day wasn't going to end the way it began. The perfume hit first. White jasmine. Faint but sharp, cutting through the air as if it remembered her before she remembered it. Then came the laughter. Soft, familiar, and wrong. Nira followed it like a thread she didn't want to touch. The hall stretched longer than usual. Every step felt like walking through fog. The door ahead was half open. A sliver of light spilled into the hallway, gold against shadow. She didn't call his name. She didn't have to. Inside, the world had rearranged itself. A jacket over a chair, a woman's perfume layered on top of his cologne. 2 glasses, one still warm. The truth wasn't loud. It was quiet, complete. She stood there for 3 full breaths. Her body didn't tremble. It froze, like her mind had taken a picture she could never delete. No shouting, no scene, just knowing. She turned away, her heels barely making a sound on the floor. Behind her, laughter died mid-note, swallowed by silence. The truth had already spoken. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She simply walked. The elevator seemed to take forever. When the doors finally slid open, she stepped inside and pressed the button for home. No one would ever believe how quiet betrayal sounds. It's not thunder. It's the soft click of a closing door. Her reflection in the metal wall looked calm, but the calm was armor. Her chest rose and fell like she was learning how to breathe again. The world outside the glass blurred as the city moved below her. Somewhere, people were rushing to meetings, buying coffee, laughing. Her life had just collapsed, and the world kept turning. When the elevator doors opened again, sunlight hit her face. It burned a little. She took it as a sign. She was still alive. She walked out without a sound. No chaos, no confrontation, only quiet power. Because some women don't need an audience to rise. The car waited out front, black, polished, familiar. The driver opened the door and smiled. "Good morning, Mrs. Thane." "Morning," Naira answered softly, settling into the leather seat. As the city slipped by, her hands folded over her stomach. The twins shifted again, as if asking questions she couldn't answer yet. The driver glanced at her through the mirror. "Everything all right, ma'am?" Naira looked up, meeting his eyes. She smiled. Steady, graceful, unbroken. "We still have a party to host." He nodded and said nothing more. Outside, the skyline glowed, all glass and power and money. The kind of world that applauds perfection and punishes pain. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Tahlia. "Almost ready. Guests arriving soon." Naira typed back, "On my way." As the car turned toward home, she caught her reflection in the window. Lips curved, eyes steady, a woman rehearsing calm. Inside, her heartbeat whispered the truth. Calm was just another performance. By the time Naira stepped into her penthouse, everything sparkled. Candles flickered. Laughter echoed from the kitchen. Blue and silver balloons floated near the ceiling. Guests turned, smiling. Compliments flowed like champagne. "You're glowing." "That dress, so elegant." She smiled back, the way a queen greets her court. Talia hurried over, cheeks flushed. "You look stunning, Naira. Everything's perfect." "Perfect," Naira repeated. The word tasted bitter, but her tone was sweet. Everywhere she looked, life played its part. Photos of Corbin and her framed by baby shoes, a tower of cupcakes shaped like clouds, a banner that read, "Welcome, little miracles." Her hand brushed over her belly. The twins kicked once, sharp and sure. "Don't worry," she whispered under her breath. "Mama's got this." To everyone else, she was grace personified. But beneath the pearls and practiced laughter, a quiet fracture pulsed. One no one could see. Perfection had never looked so fragile. The room hummed with music and laughter. Somewhere behind the noise, the elevator chimed. Corbin Thane stepped out, late as always, charm polished to perfection. The room brightened as if money itself had walked in. He crossed the floor with a smile practiced in boardrooms, not bedrooms. Cameras lifted, guests turned. He leaned in and kissed Naira's cheek. Soft, public, meaningless. "Sorry, darling," he murmured. Meeting ran long. Naira's lips curved into a smile so smooth it hurt. "You made it just in time," she said. Every guest saw devotion. No one saw the tremor in her hand. Corbin placed a palm on her belly, posed for photos, whispered something about "our boys," while she smiled like she believed him. The laughter, the flash, the applause, it all blurred into a single hum. Inside, her heart beat steady, almost defiant. To the crowd, they looked perfect. To Naira, they looked finished. The chatter softened when Naira stood, champagne glass in hand. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice calm, smooth as silk. "Today, I celebrate more than motherhood." The room hushed. Corbin's smile flickered. "I celebrate clarity." A polite pause, then applause. Someone laughed too loudly. Naira didn't. She let the word hang in the air. Clarity. The kind that burns away illusions. The kind no one asks for but everyone needs. Corbin shifted beside her. His hand left her waist. "Life," Naira continued, "doesn't always give warnings. Sometimes it gives mirrors." Leora's name wasn't spoken, but her ghost filled the space. "I've learned," Naira said, eyes glimmering under chandelier light, "that love isn't proven by longevity, but by presence." Another toast, another round of applause. Corbin clinked her glass, smiling for the crowd. But behind the glass, his reflection looked shaken. The elevator chimed again. Leora Vance entered, late and glowing in lavender. Heads turned. Compliments fluttered. "You look stunning," someone said. Naira's eyes followed her across the room. Her smile sharpened like glass. "Lavender," she said softly. brave color. A few nearby guests chuckled, not catching the weight of it. Leora's smile twitched, her cheeks flushed. "Had to make an entrance," Leora replied, trying to sound light. Naira nodded. "You always do." Silence slipped between them, quick but cutting. Then Naira turned away, greeting another guest as though nothing had happened. The conversation behind her faded into small talk. Leora exhaled slowly, her confidence cracking like thin ice. From across the room, Corbin watched, eyes darting between the two women. He laughed too loudly at a joke that wasn't funny. Naira never looked back. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. The party swelled around her. Music, laughter, camera flashes. Naira floated through it like a dancer who knew every step. She thanked guests, hugged friends, posed for pictures. Every smile was perfect, every word rehearsed. Inside, the weight of betrayal pressed against her ribs, but she didn't bend. Pain had no place on her face tonight. Corbin mingled, performing his version of love, hand on her back, whispering her name with the tone of ownership, not affection. Talia caught Naira's eyes once from across the room. She saw something there, something steady and dangerous. The photographer asked for one last picture. Corbin wrapped his arm around her waist. Naira smiled, pearl earrings glinting in the light. To everyone watching, she looked radiant. To herself, she felt untouchable, because the most graceful performance a woman can give is pretending she's fine, until the curtain falls. When the laughter grew too loud, Naira slipped away. The nursery was quiet, still smelling of fresh paint and powder. She sank into the chair by the crib, the sound of her own breathing louder than the music outside. Her hands rested on her belly. The twins kicked, gentle, questioning. "It's all right," she whispered. "I'm still here." No tears came, only silence, deep and heavy. A photo frame sat on the dresser, her and Corbin, smiling, younger. She turned it face down. For a moment she let herself break, just in the space between heartbeats. Then she straightened. "They'll never see me small," she said softly. "They'll never watch me shrink." Her reflection in the window stared back, fierce and fragile at once. Outside, thunder murmured over Austin, distant but real. Inside, Naira made a promise that felt older than language. She would raise her sons in strength, not sorrow, and no matter who failed her, she would not fail them. Hours passed. The guests were gone. The house exhaled its last echo of laughter. The penthouse was quiet again, only the hum of rain against the glass. Corbin came home rehearsed, tie loosened, guilt dressed as exhaustion. "Naira," he started, voice low, "we need to talk." She didn't turn from the window. "No, you need to talk. I need quiet." He moved closer, his reflection appearing beside hers in the glass. "It was a mistake." She let out a soft laugh, almost kind. "A mistake is forgetting to lock a door. This was betrayal." He flinched. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I know," she said, "but you did." Silence stretched. He searched her face for rage, but found only stillness. "I don't need your apology," she said finally, voice steady. "I need peace." Her calm hurt more than anger ever could. He nodded slowly, pretending to understand. But she knew he didn't. He never had. When he reached for her shoulder, she stepped away. The distance between them said what words never could. She was already gone. He tried again the next night, desperate and small. "Naira, please, we can fix this." She faced him this time. "Fix? You can't unburn wood, Corbin." He exhaled hard. "We were drifting. You stopped looking at me." "No," she said quietly. "You stopped being worth looking at." He blinked. "That's cruel." "It's true." Every word she spoke landed like truth disguised as softness. He reached for logic. "I was weak." She shook her head. "You weren't weak. You were selfish." He swallowed. "You act like I planned it. You didn't trip into betrayal. You chose it." Her voice didn't rise, but the room tilted with power. Corbin's eyes glistened. "I miss what we had." Naira stepped closer, then stopped. "Then you should have protected it." He stood still, cornered by truth. Every excuse collapsed under her calm. "I don't need to win this," she said. "I already survived it." The house went quiet again. Not peace. Tension held its breath. Corbin stood by the door, guilt twisting his posture. "I still love you," he whispered. Neera looked at him for the first time in hours. Her eyes were clear, not cold. Love that hurts isn't love, it's ownership. He took a step toward her. "Please, just—" She stepped back. "Don't." He froze mid-step. "You lost that right." Those 4 words cut cleaner than shouting ever could. He looked at her hands, steady over her stomach, protecting what was left unbroken. "I didn't mean—" "But you did." Her tone never changed. The space between them grew heavier than walls. For years he had filled silence with control. Now it swallowed him whole. She turned away, leaving him to stand in the shadow of his own choices. Outside, thunder rolled again. Inside, she found peace in quiet defiance. Corbin finally fell asleep on the couch, his remorse tangled in half-whispered dreams. Neera stood in the doorway, watching. Not with anger, not even pity, just clarity. The city lights reflected across his face. The same man who once promised forever, now too small for the woman who'd grown past him. She moved through the apartment softly, opened drawers, closed memories. Every motion was deliberate, calm, final. She checked her phone. Her assistant had already confirmed the address of the new house outside the city, a place she'd bought months ago, back when her intuition first started whispering. Peace wasn't a place, she realized. It was a decision. She folded one last dress into her suitcase and looked around. This wasn't running away. This was walking toward freedom. When she lay down beside her packed bags, the rain had stopped. The sky outside was pale and patient, like it was waiting for morning. At sunrise, movers arrived quietly, as instructed. No questions, no names, only movement. Neera oversaw everything with calm precision. Her wedding dress stayed behind. Her pearls went with her. The penthouse, once filled with love and ambition, felt sterile now, like a stage after the play has ended. She left no note, no message, no symbolic gesture. She wasn't leaving him. She was leaving who she used to be. The elevator ride down felt endless. Her reflection in the mirrored wall looked different this time, lighter, freer. Outside, the driver opened the door. "Mrs. Thane?" She hesitated for just a second, then smiled faintly. "Just Neera," she said. As the car pulled away, the city blurred behind her, all steel and memory. She rested a hand on her belly. "Boys," she whispered, "this is how peace begins." For the first time in months, her heart didn't ache. It breathed. The city faded in the rearview mirror, each mile peeling away the life she once lived. By noon, the car turned off the main road and followed a winding path toward Lake Travis. The Willowmere estate waited, quiet and untouched. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Stone walls, tall oaks, a view that stretched wide enough to hold her silence. When Neera stepped inside, the air felt still, like the house had been expecting her. No echoes of Corbin, no scent of perfume, just space. She set down her bag and walked barefoot through each room. The nursery was ready. 2 small cribs, soft gray walls, a mobile of clouds spinning slowly above them. This was peace, not luxury. She opened the window and let in the breeze. For the first time in years, the air didn't taste like performance. Silence greeted her like an old friend, steady, healing, real. She made tea, chamomile, no lemon, no garnish. When her reflection met her eyes in the glass, she whispered, "You made it." And the house didn't answer, but it didn't have to. It already felt like home. Night came heavy with thunder. Rain streaked down the tall windows, quick and merciless. Neera sat on the couch, tracing circles across her belly. The twins moved inside her, rhythmic, strong. Then the first contraction hit. Sharp, sudden, but not terrifying. She gripped the edge of the cushion, breathing through it. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're ready." Another wave followed, deeper this time. She didn't call anyone, didn't panic. Every plan was already in place. Her midwife on call, bags packed, the car fueled. Lightning flashed, illuminating her reflection in the glass. Her face looked calm, almost fierce. Thunder rolled again. Pain surged again. She stood, holding onto the table for balance, whispering to her boys, "You're coming through the storm, just like your mama did." Outside, the sky raged. Inside, her resolve steadied. She faced labor alone, but not afraid. Because this time, no one could walk away from her. The storm outside became a rhythm. Thunder, rain, breath. Nera lay back, sweat beading across her skin. The midwife's voice was soft, grounding her through each contraction. "You're doing beautifully," she said. Nera wasn't listening. She was inside herself, inside that sacred space between pain and power. One push, then another. A cry pierced through the thunder, high, sharp, alive. The midwife caught him, placed him on Nira's chest. "Zion." Nira kissed his forehead, trembling, then braced again. Moments later the second arrived, slower, heavier cry, but the same strength. "Ezra." She held both sons against her heart, their tiny bodies slick and real. Tears came quietly, not from pain, but release. The storm softened to a hum. They were here, born through betrayal, wrapped in grace. For the first time in months, Nira smiled. Not the public kind, but the one that starts deep in the soul. Her world had broken, and from its ruins, life began again. It was past midnight when Zion stirred. His small body felt warm, too warm. Nira's chest tightened, but she didn't panic. She touched his forehead, then pulled him close, skin to skin. "It's okay," she whispered. "I've got you." The rain still tapped softly against the window. Ezra slept soundly beside him, breathing even and light. She rocked Zion slowly, humming a song her mother used to sing. His fever burned against her skin, but her arms never faltered. She was his calm, his shelter. Hours passed. The fever eased. His body relaxed, his breathing slowed. Nira pressed her lips to his hair. "Even when no one shows up," she said softly, "I will." It wasn't just a promise. It was a vow sealed by every sleepless night she'd ever endured alone. By dawn, Zion's skin had cooled. Nira didn't move. She just sat there, holding both her sons, watching the sky turn gold. Strength had never looked quieter. Morning light spilled across the nursery, soft and golden. Nira sat in the rocking chair, both boys asleep in her arms. The world was still. She finally let herself cry. Not for Corbin, not even for Leora. She cried for herself, for the woman who had once mistaken survival for love. The tears came gentle, almost grateful. She thought about the years she'd spent proving her worth to people who only saw her shine, never her shadow. Now, she didn't need proving. She just needed peace. She wiped her cheeks and looked at her sons. "You'll grow up knowing love doesn't have to hurt," she whispered. The house smelled of chamomile and new beginnings. In the mirror across the room, she saw her reflection, barefaced, steady, free. For the first time, she didn't see the woman who'd been betrayed. She saw the one who survived. And in that quiet moment, forgiveness found her, not for him, but for herself. By late afternoon, the quiet hum of tools echoed through the hall. A contractor had arrived to expand the nursery wall. "Asher Wynn," he introduced himself, clipboard in hand. His voice was calm, grounded. Nirasi nodded, watching him take quiet measure of the space. He didn't rush. He didn't fill the air with small talk. He worked with care, every motion deliberate. The scent of pine and sawdust replaced the sterile stillness of the house. When he finally looked up, their eyes met. "You've got good bones in here," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "Let's keep them." For the first time in months, the sound of another person didn't feel intrusive. It felt steady. Asher didn't ask questions about her life or the babies. He just worked, whistling under his breath, leaving quiet in his wake. By the time he packed up, the house felt lighter. Peace had a new shape, and it had a name. The next week, the storm returned. Thunder rolled across the lake, and Asher was still there, finishing the nursery trim. When the rain grew heavier, Neera opened the patio door. "You can stay until it passes," she said. He hesitated. "You sure?" "Unless you like working in lightning." That made him smile. Small, genuine. She made tea, chamomile again. No words, no pretense. They sat across from each other, listening to the rain drum the glass. "I don't talk much," Asher said after a while. "That's fine," Neera replied. "I've heard enough words for a lifetime." He nodded. "Then we're even." The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of unspoken understanding. For the first time since the betrayal, Neera realized calm didn't have to mean loneliness. Sometimes, calm was a conversation between two people who didn't need to perform. Outside, thunder softened. Inside, something gentle began. Days turned into weeks. Asher kept coming back. Repairs finished long ago, yet somehow never complete. He brought tools, sometimes coffee, once a handmade mobile of carved stars for the twins. He didn't rescue her. He respected her. Their words were simple. "Morning. Need help with that? How are the boys?" But between those words lived something deeper, a rhythm of peace. One evening, as the boys slept, they sat side by side on the porch. The sunset bled gold over the water. He didn't reach for her hand. He didn't have to. Their silence touched before their hands did. Neera turned to him. "You make quiet feel safe," she said softly. Asher's eyes met hers. That's how it should have always felt. The air between them warmed. No grand declarations, no desperate need to define it. Just presence. Love, she realized, didn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it came like dusk, gentle, sure, inevitable. Peace grew roots in her days, and soon she no longer counted the time since she left, only how far she'd come. Months later, the Austin Legacy Gala shimmered under golden lights. Neera stepped from the car in a black gown that caught every flash of the camera. Whispers followed her name. "Neera Ellington. She's back." She smiled. Not to prove anything, just to exist fully. Inside, chandeliers glittered. A string quartet played softly. Then she saw him, Corbin, alone. No ring, no Leora. He froze when he saw her. The same man who once broke her spirit now looked smaller beneath the weight of his own choices. Neera tilted her head in acknowledgement, nothing more, then turned back toward Asher, who stood beside her, steady, unbothered, quietly confident. Her laughter carried, low and easy. Corbin watched, realizing he was witnessing something he could never rebuild. She wasn't glowing from revenge. She was glowing from freedom. The night went on. The world finally saw her not as the woman who fell, but as the woman who rose. Later that night, Corbin approached her near the marble staircase. His voice was low, almost pleading. "Do you still love me?" Neera looked at him, the weight of years soft in her eyes. "Not enough to shrink anymore," she said. He flinched. That was the closure she never had to beg for. Asher appeared beside her, offering her coat, his presence enough to end the conversation. She turned toward him, calm and radiant. Together, they walked away, not in triumph, but in peace. Neera Ellington had rebuilt herself from silence, not revenge. Her scars weren't endings. They were proof she'd survived beautifully. And as she looked out at the city lights, she whispered, "Peace is louder than pain." If you've ever smiled through heartbreak and kept your crown straight, the story was for you. Like, share, and let someone know. You can lose everything and still find yourself whole.